Welcome to Master B2B Mythbusters, where we take a commonly held belief in B2B e-commerce and we put someone on the hot seat to see if they can dispel it. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with my co-founder of the Master B2B Thought Leadership Community of B2B e-com execs, Andy Hoar. Andy, for those of you who don't know Andy, welcome. Andy is a longtime veteran of the e-commerce field. He was 7 years at Master B2B, 7 years at Forrester Research, almost 7 years at Master B2B, right, Andy? Feels like it. He led the e-commerce practice for B2B for Forrester and is the CEO of Paradigm B2B. And my partner at Master B2B, Andy, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for being. It's good to be here. So, for those of you who don't know Brian, I guess we'll probably do this forever, won't we? But for those of you who don't know Brian, so Brian's the author of a book called Billion Dollar B2B E-commerce. Early in his career, he was a practitioner at Harbor Freight Tools and at PacSun. He ran e-commerce at both places. And he also was a systems integrator at Guidance. So he's played every role in the space and brings a lot of wisdom and knowledge about B2B commerce. And it's hard for me to say that, Brian.
I know,
So
Andy. I know. Yes, you can just say I bring the looks. It's okay, man. So we've got a hot topic we're talking about today, guys. This is all about AI and Gen AI, and will AI revolutionize or evolutionize decision making in B2B? And Andy, we've got a great group of people joining us today, and we've got a special guest on the hot seat. I'm looking at who's joining here today. We've got 3M here, Fender, bringing some guitar music. SED, Solventum's here. I see Trent from Grasshopper. Hey, Trent. The Hammer Hartman's here. JJ Keller. Eaton's here. SC Johnson. Hey, Leandro. Schneider's here. Eric. Igenia. A whole bunch of folks. So exciting topic, Andy. And when we talk about AI, we're talking today about agentic AI. Can you first define that for us? What is that? And from our point of view.
yeah, it's kind of the more exciting dimension, especially for e-commerce folks within the AI space. And agentic AI, put in simple terms, is kind of AI that takes action. And
Yeah.
it's in addition to just analyzing something or writing copy,
Yep.
it would be able to take an analysis and turn it into a webinar and create a PowerPoint and invite people to the webinar and track who attended and send follow-up notes and ask what people thought about it, et cetera. And then if it was going to write something, for example, it could write a piece of content and publish the content and target an audience and send it out to that audience and get their feedback on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it really is kind of revolutionized, and I shouldn't use that word, but it's going to change. Let's put it that way. It's going to change how companies,
Yeah.
and in this case, we're talking about B2B companies, interact with their customers because a lot of those things we just described were done principally by humans.
Yes.
And there's this potential for agentic AI to replace that or augment it. And so we're going to argue that it's going to take more of an evolution.
Yeah.
Our special guest is going to argue that it's going to be more revolutionary than most people recognize.
Oh, and he's going to be so wrong, Andy, but we'll find out if he busts the myth. And you all have a chance, by the way, at the end of this to vote on what you believe on this topic. So let's just define the two sides carefully before we bring in our hot seat representative here. So we're talking first, revolutionize, which really means that we believe in some, if you believe this side, you believe that fundamentally AI will alter radically the decision-making process. It will be AI led, the decision-making process, and it will diminish the human role in decisioning over the next 3 to 5 years. And that's, we got to kind of put a time frame around this. So we're saying 3 to 5 years. Andy and I believe this will be more of an evolution, right? Which is a change in part, not a full change, not a whole led change. There'll still be humans. There'll still be human-led decision making assisted by AI. That's Andy and I's position. Now we got someone here who doesn't agree with us, we're going to see if he can sort of bust our myth here, right? So let's find out, who do we have on the hot seat today? All right, well, let's find out. We have Mr. Brian Gillespie. Nice.
Brian and Andy, how you doing, my friends?
Hey, what's up, man? This is Brian Gillespie, HCL Software. And Brian, you've a long experience in this and in this e-commerce and digital field. And for some reason, you think this is going to be a revolution. So
Absolutely.
All right. Well, tell us, you heard our definition of agentic AI. Let's start by just making sure that you agree with us at least on the definition. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
agentic?
you guys are spot on. What I'll add one more element to that. And when you talk about agentic, and you'll hear people talk about agentic and agents work, together, the same kind of the same. But I'll take it one step further. Think of agentic as not only can it do things, but it can communicate back and forth with other agentic or other agents. So it's not just about making a decision and acting on it. It's making a decision, requesting more information or acting on it, and working with other agents. I think if anyone's interested, a great new protocol that came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago by Google is A to A, which is agent to agent protocol that they standardized because of the different agents that are going to be able to communicate with each other across industries, across companies, etc.
This
So
is
think of it more of the communication as well as the technology to deliver something.
Okay, so I see armies of agents taking over the world, making all decisions. This is sounding more and more like a motion picture fantasy land here, Brian. I don't know. But Andy, you have some situational questions. Let's dive into how you think this is going to actually revolutionize decision making. Andy, what's our first question for Mr. Gillespie?
Yeah, so we have a couple different areas we want to explore. And one of them is pricing. This is notoriously interesting in B2B. It's different from B2C. You have contract pricing, where companies, negotiate with other companies and they give them preferred rates, et cetera. But I think in your world, Brian Gillespie, you're arguing that what's going to be revolutionized and all that's going to be thrown out the window. All pricing is going to be dynamic. Negotiations are going to end. Humans won't be talking to humans. It'll just be, computers and bots interacting with one another. Is that your argument?
Why would I want to have an internal human agent making decisions based on spreadsheets and based on rules, business rules that are clearly documented? So the answer is yeah. I mean, absolutely, you're going to start seeing more and more agentic agents making decisions based on those rules, those price rules. Listen, I'm not saying that you're going to have dynamic pricing, you're going to raise your price to B2B contracts. What I'm saying is B2B contracts are one variable into the logic that feeds into the agentic agent to make those decisions. Now, obviously, with a price list, you can't go above it. But hey, listen, if there's a reason, a compelling reason to lower the price by 5%, because we know historically that XYZ happens, great. And my margin's only impacted by a quarter of percent. Why not make the sale? But those business rules will be part of that agentic agent making those decisions for you. So why wouldn't you? Look how many times you've probably had to approve pricing, adjustments, and it's just almost a rubber stamp, right? Get rid of those rubber stamp decisions and leave those resources to make more complex decisions that we're just not quite there yet from an agentic standpoint.
Yeah, but don't you think, there are people who've spent their lives, figuring out how to optimize pricing and what a good deal looks like. And are you telling us that the agents are going to be better at that than people with years and years of experience?
Yeah, I mean, look at cars used to run on coal and steam, right? It's same thing, right? I mean, things change, and it's going to just evolution's going to take place even in the technology sector, just like the automotive and mechanical sector.
He just said evolutionize, didn't he?
Yeah, I think you did.
I heard that. I heard that.
All right,
There's an
well,
evolution that causes a revolution.
well, I know we could talk for days about each one of these, but we want to dig into another topic. So
Sure.
Brian wants to talk to you a bit about UI design
So,
and how.
okay. So yeah, this
All right,
one's
go ahead,
close,
Brian.
this one's close to my heart, Brian. So UI UX design, right?
Yep.
So you think that well, I'm putting words in your mouth and will not let you speak them, but you think that, AI is going to make decisions on the user experience. Let's consider a digital user experience in real time as that person, as that customer is interacting with the website in this example. Really? And what does that do to the designers, to the consideration that go beyond just, data? I mean, how are you envisioning that's going to happen?
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about just today. Today alone, I mean, we have an audience out there. Go to lovable.com, right? You can go with about 3 or 4 prompts, create an entire website dynamically just based on literally probably 3 minutes of prompts you have to give it. All right. Now, what I want you to do is now, after that website's generated on Lovable or whatever tool you're using, now take this piece of data. Now, this data is going to feed as a prompt into that agentic agent and dynamically re-render that UI instantaneously based on that data. So now it's not just about creating a static page, which if your web developers are not doing this today, you're way behind. In 3 years, I'm saying you're going to be feeding data into your generation of those pages dynamically. So they're re-rendered in real time, driving not only just engagement, but higher propensity to purchase.
So what happens to the role of the UI designer, the
Yeah, I
merchandise
mean,
marketer?
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you're always going to have areas of your pages that you don't want to have dynamically rendered. So there's obviously areas of that. So you're still going to need those resources. But I want you to just think of search results pages, how your search results page is rendered based on how somebody would rather interact with it instead of having it as a 3 by 5 or 3 by whatever 10 grid. I want it as a list because I mean maybe that's just my preference, right? So just so you're still going to have developers that are going to have to still develop and still work with those web pages, but there are going to absolutely 100%, 70% of those of your website, of your e-commerce site, can be dynamically generated within 3 to 5 years.
I'm still hearing evolutionary arguments from you, Brian.
No, and here I'll tell you, and I'm going to get to my closing statement of why this is a revolution in a minute.
Okay. All right. Well, Andy, you want to talk to him about merchandising, I think.
Well, let's take this a bit further. All right.
Yeah.
So if you said this can be dynamically generated, et cetera, but if the agents are going to be doing the buying and the selling, then why do they need browsers? Why do they need web pages? Why do we need any of that
That's
stuff,
right.
right?
There's no
Is this
human
what you're going to
involved,
argue
Brian.
that we're just
Yeah.
not going to see all this stuff is going to disappear and the bots will be just talking to each other in some computer language?
So it's funny, you guys introduced yourselves and you were telling just the tenure of your in the space. I'm going to kind of disclose how far back I go. Remember Opera, right? The web browser Opera and all those old ones, right? Think about this. We have been confined into this box on our CRT monitors, now our laptops, our phones. You're still bound to this square. The answer is you're right. In my, for people that know me, and I think you've heard me talk about this before too, Andy, whenever I work with my development team, I always tell them design as you want to kill the browser, right? You should not need a browser going forward, especially when you have voice, when you have, I'm going to mute her right now, when you have Alexa sitting next to you, when you have Google, there's no reason for a web browser anymore. So you're right. When you have agent to agent, all those interactions, listen, I would love to kill the browser. I think the browser inhibits us. So how are we going to use agentic AI? How are we going to use technology where we don't need a browser anymore?
So how does merchandising take place then? Who are you
Right.
merchanting for? I mean, who's the customer? Is it an abstraction of a person in the form of a bot? Or, I mean, if you're, marketing to me, let's say Brian is marketing to me, you know, I'm interested in lamps, let's say. Is he going to make emotional arguments to me about why this lamp looks great in my particular environment? Or is he going to be is his bot going to be talking to my bot? And I'm not going to, there's going to be no merchandising going on. It's just bot to bot, facts is only the facts matter kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if you take merchandising today, merchandising is I'm going to give you the next five, products that we think are relevant to you, or based on the fact I heard JJ Keller's on. So based on this company buying this type of safety gear, and we know the industry you're in, we maybe think this is what you're going to go with. Merchandising is going to drastically change in 3 to 5 years because now what JJ Keller should be doing is taking in news feeds. They should be taking in economic situations in the world, and now the customer, the variables outside of just that browser, or when we know have browser, just the interaction that our customers have made. We should be promoting a specific item, because don't forget, pretty soon you're going to have a voice talk to you. Hey, listen, did you know this is happening over here, and this went to weather storm in the Northeast. You need to have this safety gear for all your trucks now, and right, how do we get that out there? It's personalization is not going to be a list of products based on a general demographic. Personalization is going to be very, very specific based on real-time data. And the only way you're going to get that accomplished is through agentic AI. And you're going to and to feed that those recommendations and that personalization aspect to those customers.
All right, so let's talk about measurement for a moment here because it dovetails right into this. So, are you saying, Brian, in all this crazy talk, that machines are going to be setting and measuring goals as well, all of our KPIs? That there's no role for a human to interpret what it means and make actions based on what it means? Is the analytics department dead too?
Well, listen, I mean, you're still going to need analytics, but yeah, I mean, hey, listen, when's the last time you heard a CEO of a company saying, yeah, we're going to be flat this year? You're always going to have a growth, right? And the growth is always dictated based on historical data and data points and market trends, et cetera. So why wouldn't you want to have agentic AI at least give those CEOs a representation of what the growth should be? Or what you should be doing with your business based on that. I mean, listen, all we're doing is we're saying take out the manual process of somebody looking at data and real-time market trends and how do you automate that? That's what agentic AI is. So agentic AI can absolutely take that based on historical business trends and numbers, based on variables that are coming in. Your growth should be X, Y, Z this year, based on the fact that other companies in this industry are seeing, this much growth, the cigar of whatever. So absolutely, you're going to see agentic AI driving business objectives for organizations because it's going to be much faster. They can take on data that a human can't in the time frame that now CEOs are expecting those employees to give those recommendations.
Here's the problem with all this, though. I mean, we're talking about, we're arguing it's an evolution, and you're actually kind of making the same argument, by the way, Brian. But we'll hear what you have to say in a moment about that. But as you think about decision making, the big issue I have with sort of AI making all the decisions is the contextual understanding, the organizational dynamics, the organizational interplay, the alignment, the aspects of decision making which can't be measured necessarily by numbers, or the perhaps in the sales example you gave earlier, maybe it's the good of the long term strategic importance that customer has to the account, to the company. So, these are contextual questions that I think, in my opinion, AI can't make those judgment calls. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you're wrong. What do you say, sir?
No, I mean, listen, I mean, I'm going to go back to your original statement during that little pitch there, and that is there is absolutely an evolution of technology. The problem we have now for organizations is you need to revolutionize your technology stacks to leverage these business developers and these tools. For example, I'm going to take an automobile. It's kind of easy, right? Gasoline engines. You can only do 0 to 60 in what, 3.2 seconds is the fastest one. I don't know. I'm not a car guy, but right. So, but people always wanted to go faster. Well, the electric engine, completely different platform that you want to now be able to do 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 in under 3 seconds, right? So if you want to take advantage, if you want to stay on top and up and ahead of the competition, you can't just adopt this over time. You have to revolutionize and take advantage of what's out there now, build out that stack. Otherwise, you will be left behind. So yes, it's an evolution of technology, but organizations have to revolt and break out of their day-to-day paradigm and make these decisions. Otherwise, you will be behind in 3 to 5 years.
Well, Julian Frere agrees with you. He said in his comment here, I think Brian has laid the foundation for AI to make decisions and removing people. Well, Julian, we know where you stand. No, but
Well, so
go
That's
ahead.
one for me. Thank you. No.
That's one for you. That's right. We'll see how the voting plays out. Go
well,
ahead.
let's address the elephant in the room, though. You may be right about the need for this modern technology. You may be right that the technology is actually capable, whereas maybe a couple of years it wasn't. I want to ask you the hard question, though. What evidence do you have that this would be enough of a forcing function to change how companies think? Because let's face it, B2B companies oftentimes are, to be generous, fast followers, probably more like a slow follower. They're more risk averse. So you may be showing up with all this technology and they may go, whoa, 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 slow down, cowboy. This is more than we can handle. What I want to know from you is what's going to force them to change? Because I think the natural position is going to be inertia, which is we're not going to change.
Yeah, it's the generation that's now entering the business, right? What's the number one generation? We have the boomers, the baby boomers that are exiting the workforce. I mean, the Gen Xers, they're getting up there. So the younger generations are coming in, and listen, they don't want to do manual processes anymore. They don't want to talk to somebody on a phone. They don't want to get an email to review a proposal. Those are the folks that are going to dictate and mandate that these companies change. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else. And again, it's, I have two kids in their 20s. The last thing they want to do is, and one of them is, a technology kid, and the last thing he wants to do is talk to a human on the phone. So it's the generation that is now entering the workforce that has, I mean, listen, the generation that's coming into the workforce has never even known what it's like to not hold one of these, right?
Right.
So they're going to expect, and I mean, our kids today in school, they're learning. Their tools are agentic AI. They're using ChatGPT. They're using these tools. They're going to expect that now in the workforce. So it's the generation that's going to dictate this, and that's what I say. In 3 to 5 years, your baby boomers are out. The next generation's
It's
coming in. That's going to
it's
drive
a good
this.
argument. It's a good argument, Brian. But e-commerce has been an expectation of B2B companies for like freaking 4 decades or something. And guess what? Something like half of manufacturers don't even have an e-com site, right? So I get you. I get you. But B2B, to Andy's point, fast followers, Andy, you're giving too much credit to B2B.
Well,
It
but let's
takes a
let's let
long time.
Brian. Let's let,
Yep.
so Brian, we've had a conversation and we've talked for about 20 minutes or so, and this is Brian Gillespie. This is your big chance to wrap it all up and make your most compelling argument before we go to our poll. So, why will AI and agentic AI in particular revolutionize B2B e-commerce in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm gonna use your statistic that we talked about earlier today, Andy, and that is the adoption of ChatGPT.
Hey, don't
Okay.
use my own stuff against
Oh,
me.
I'm gonna use it against you, buddy. So this is the best part. I mean, you used my words against me when I said but no, I mean, you look at the adoption. I think you said, I mean, the exact numbers is we're coming up to on 1 billion unique monthly users on ChatGPT, and that occurred in less than 2 years. Is that a rough 20, like 18 months, 17 months? You said
You're going to make me quote this, right? So the number is ChatGPT went from 0 to 800 million in 27 months,
27 months.
and now it's approaching a billion, but it went from 400 to 800 in a matter of weeks. And so yeah, that curve is broken every curve. TikTok, Google, all those guys have been left in the dust for adoption. But yes, now you're making me win your argument for you.
You're welcome, Andy. No, but I mean, that's the whole argument, though. I mean, this is, again, I'm going to go back to my statement. The expectation of the business, the B2B business users, the buyers, not, no, this is not the technical, the agents, but not the technical agent, the actual agents, sellers, they're going to expect this technology. So when they enter the workforce, they're going to gravitate to the B2B organizations that are leveraging these technologies, and those are the organizations that are going to grow the fastest. So again, it's those younger generation folks are going to drive companies to make these changes. And what you're going to see is, listen, I mean, I think the culturally too, you have to look at my generation and older, right? We grew up where we got our hands dirty. We worked till our knuckles were raw, right? It's different today. The generation today is, hey, listen, I love the fact that so many countries only work 32 hours a week, right? How do you do more with less, right? From a GDP standpoint, from a business standpoint, we have to do more, but we don't want to be working 60 hours a week. The only way you're going to do that is through the adoption of agentic AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so your argument is that it's a generational shift. The tools will be there. Younger people who are now populating the lower ranks of B2B, in some cases the middle ranks of B2B,
Yeah.
are going to adopt this at a pretty rapid rate. Well, Brian, why don't we go to our poll question
Let's do that. Let's go ahead and pop
and
the poll
and let's
question.
see what the people watching think and see whether they agree that you're correct with this rapid adoption or that in fact it's going to take more time, like Brian and I think.
Over the
So
next.
while they're voting, uh, Brian Beck, what do you think about what Brian Gillespie just said?
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, it sounds like the next generation is going to get a lot more sleep, so they'll probably live a lot longer than we will. But so that's good. Maybe I should be in the next generation. My son's 13, so the future is bright. And by the way, Brian, my son who is 13 does use ChatGPT all the time. So yes, it's not the Amazon native generation now. It's the Gen AI native generation.
And listen, it just, and this is totally a tangent a little bit, but think about it. The attention span of the younger generation, because of the fact that they can TikTok, right? Every second they just flip, 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 flip. They don't have,
Yeah.
they want instantaneous. They want things done quickly. They want that gratification much faster. So yeah, I mean that's that. So it's not just about getting more sleep or working less.
Right.
They want to work more efficiently.
Yeah, I think to me, I mean, to me, I still believe it's an evolution, this whole thing because, removing humans entirely from the decision-making process, or mostly, I think is unrealistic, particularly in B2B. I mean, maybe 50 years from now, but in the next 3 to 5 years, I don't buy it. I think it's AI informed and empowered, and it's removing some of the manual process to get to the decision, but it's not, in my opinion, going to fully replace human decision making, which is, more of your revolutionary argument. I would agree with you, Brian, that revolution on the revolutionary side, that's, we are going to see revolution on topics. So, okay, so it looks like more folks said revolutionize than evolutionize. Interesting. So more folks agree with you, Brian, than us in terms of the folks who responded to the poll, and thank you for that.
I'm
Uh,
so happy that we had an odd number respond to the poll. Otherwise,
yeah,
I think
right.
it would have been a
If we're
tie.
tied,
It would have been a tie.
that would have been odd.
Well, so my philosophy on this is I think the technology is revolutionary. I think the change management is evolutionary. And the question is which one's going to win? One of them has to give. And I think there's no doubt the technology exists. My concern is really more about, can the snake eat the food? They can
Listen, I mean,
digest it potentially, but can it put it in its mouth and push it through the body, to use a crude analogy? And I don't know that many B2B companies are structured that way to do that today. But the question is, will they have to become structured that way? Because I know we all use ChatGPT. Now that the voting's over, I'll confess that we all use these technologies. And I'll admit that they're better. They're certainly faster and they see connections we don't see. And so maybe the forcing function in B2B is that the quality and the speed is so much better and so much faster. And so it could be that, people end up adopting these technologies even against their own better interest for keeping their jobs because they have to, because it's that much better and that much faster.
my 10-second wrap up is listen, you're right. There are going to be organizations that are going to just evolutionize and slowly adopt this over time. It's the 10% of the organizations that revolt and adopt this in the next 3 to 5 years that are just going to grow exponentially. And those companies that don't adopt this over the next 3 to 5 years are going to go away.
And
So
there's
that's the
also, yeah, and to that point, there's also an example of that. There's a counterbalance, and it doesn't affect everybody in B2B, but it affects enough companies that they need to pay attention to it, and that is Amazon, because Amazon is fully embracing these technologies. And if they set a new standard for customer interaction, for fulfillment, delivery, if they're moving faster and they're doing better work, using agentic AI, then others are going to have to match that, or it could be curtains.
All right, guys, we're up on time here. We're gonna have to leave it there. Andy, thank you. Andy, well, Andy, thank you. But Brian
No,
Gillespie,
no, no, thank you, Brian.
thank you for joining us. It's been a great
Thank you
topic, a
guys.
great Mythbuster. Did a great job, Brian, and a lot of good points. We really appreciate your time. And everyone, we will see you on our next Mythbuster session. And watch out for our Friday 15 every Friday. We'll put up a slide about that in just a second. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.